Fox News. With weeks before the Iowa caucuses, the latest Fox Business poll, has former President Trump over the 50% threshold among Republican voters in Iowa.
52% of likely Republican Iowa caucus goers told the Fox Business poll they're going with former President Trump. 18% choose Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and 16% pick former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. That's the same number of Trump supporters who say they could change their minds about supporting the former president. Meanwhile, 43% of Haley supporters say they might change theirs. She also has the highest number who say that if she wins, they won't vote. 21% said they would stay home. The big bright spot for DeSantis, his supporters may be the most fired up. 67% say they will definitely caucus. 56% of Trump supporters feel that way, and just half of Haley's say they'll definitely show up.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Colorado's Department of State says it does not allow a primary election to be canceled at the request of a political party. This comment coming after threats by the state Republican Party to switch to a caucus system if Trump's name is left off the ballot. After the state Supreme Court ruled Trump is ineligible to be on the ballot, citing the Constitution's insurrection clause. Even as the leader of Hamas is in Cairo to continue negotiations for a ceasefire, Israel's military continues to look for the hostages while attacking targets in Gaza.
The main leverage we have is our military action, because we've been hitting Hamas hard. We've been killing its terrorists. We've been breaking up its military machine.
Senior advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, Mark Regev, the Israeli military says it's uncovered a major Hamas command center in the heart of Gaza City in a blow to the terror group. Just days after North Korea performed its first intercontinental ballistic missile test in 5 months, the United States flew long-range bombers for joint drills with South Korea and Japan. America's listening to Fox News.
A psoriasis flare-up?
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He'll likely stay on your ballot. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. You've probably heard about former President Trump being disqualified from Colorado's 2024 election ballot. Donnie Burgess reports on how that would work in Indiana.
I don't see it happening in Indiana.
Dr. Laura Wilson, political science professor at the University of Indianapolis.
And in part, of course, Donald Trump is highly popular here. But I also think the states where you've seen it come up as a conversation, many of those states have shot it down.
And the former president has the numbers on his side, especially when it comes to conservative judges on certain state Supreme Courts and the U.S. Supreme Court, where Trump's eventual appeal will land. Dr. Wilson says many states are waiting for Trump's court cases to play out before labeling him an insurrectionist. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Circle Center Mall has been sold to a company that plans to invest heavily in its redevelopment. Adam Collins, the former owner's lawyer, confirmed the sale Wednesday.
The folks at Hendricks presented an offer to the partnership that has been approved by part of it. And now we're just waiting till we get to the end to go through all the contingencies and due diligence that everyone has to reach in order to close.
The buyer is Hendricks Properties, who also owns Bottle Works and Iron Works. The price tag of the sale, not known. The Marion County Public Health Department says some hospitals will start to implement temporary visitor restrictions because of increased COVID, RSV, and flu cases. That includes minors not being allowed to visit. Give your hospital a call for their restrictions if they have any. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
As we make our way towards Wednesday evening, we'll be partly cloudy with mostly cloudy conditions overnight. Low temperature around the freezing point with winds light and variable. We're mostly cloudy and around 50 degrees by Thursday. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Drew Nasutis for 93 WIBC.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has green-lighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even reduce what you owe by up to 99%. Call the hotline at Tax Help USA to see if you qualify by dialing 800-831-1510. If you or your business owe at least $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS or state, you can now get the help that you need during these hard economic times. Call Tax Help USA to get your free tax assessment to see what you qualify for by dialing 800-831-1510. 800-831-1510. That's 800-831-1510.
We're the Hellsberg Wedding Band, and this is for the lovers out there. was riding on a horse, wearing a tuxedo, shirtless of course. That Hellsberg diamond will dazzle her eye, and she'll say yes, but then she'll cry. Now put your shirt back on, guys. For over 100 years, Hellsberg has been customizing engagement rings of the highest quality. Plus, with Hellsberg's transparent pricing, you know you're getting the best price. Find her ring at a Hellsberg store near you or at Hellsberg.com.
Do you hear that?
Hey!
It's the sound of a honey-baked holiday. The sound of mouth-watering memories being made over bites of their savory sides. And the sweet, crunchy glaze of a bone-in honey-baked ham. Or slow-smoked turkey breast. And of course, the satisfying scrape of a clean dinner plate.
Taste the tradition with 2 Central Indiana locations, West 96th Street and Michigan Road in Indy, and East Greyhound Pass in Carmel.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey, the Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Every single bit of Democrat policy has backfired. Every single smidgen of it is completely blowing up in Democrats' faces. Good evening, I'm Tony Kinnett. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC out of Indianapolis, and it has got to be one of just the worst weeks for Democrats, despite what at least some are saying are initially kind of perceived victories. And that's just really not the case. So the economy may be rough. And again, everyone who doesn't have their head 3 feet under the ground covered in mud and cement knows that the economy is not super duper right now. They're kind of these illusory paper profits in the stock market. Everywhere else, inflation is hitting Americans very, very hard. The supply chain has still not been fixed, and there's a big mess. And of course, foreign policy may be pretty weak. China has begun major naval operations, and also, again, its cyber attack against the United States has been ramping up over the last couple of weeks, right after President Biden said, foreign policy was fine. Everything was totally okay. No need to look at the man behind the curtain. But the border will truly be the final nail in Biden's coffin. Really, the border has gotten so atrocious that everyone, even all the way into rural Indiana, is feeling the impact of this. So a lot of you don't really understand just how bad it currently is. There are Democrat politicians right now, some Democrat representatives like Ted Lieu, for instance, who have described the border situation as could be a lot worse. After all, we're not even hitting the point in which the Wall Street Journal reported the border was overloaded in 2019 with 76,000 people per month. Only it's a lot worse than that. It's way, way, way worse than that. Our best estimates right now from left and right-leaning sources is that we are approaching 300,000 people over the border into the United States in December alone. And in September, we had close to 297,000 people. We are hitting numbers that the United States has never hit before in immigration into the United States illegally per year. And again, those are just our best estimates, because you have situations in which people are being caught and released without even being processed. I mean, there are situations that are now coming out from Border Patrol in which they are temporarily kind of holding people up like a traffic stop and then letting them go without even taking a perceived name. And in cases where they are taking names, you have situations like Fox reported today in which a Colombian woman who crossed illegally into the United States was report things immediately to ICE, had to report things to Border Patrol. Now Greg Abbott's getting the Texas Rangers and everybody else involved and saying, go get them. Because the reason it's great is because it is showing individuals who like to preen and posture about how wonderful it truly is to have as many migrants come to the area as possible. All of a sudden, when the migrants get there, their house is closed. The doors are locked. All of a sudden, you don't want a homeless and migrant camp next to your place of business. And right at the same time that the international news media is trying to condemn Donald Trump for saying that illegal migrants poison the blood of the country and of the economy and of just about everything else, geez, it really does seem to appear that strategy is not working. You have the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, going to Washington to protest, and Marcus is doing absolutely nothing. Biden is doing even less. And now you even have Democrats saying that we have reached a crisis point. Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska officially used the word crisis to describe the border today, which, again, you kind of might think is a little bit weird. Why would a bunch of people in rural America who aren't particularly border states care about the migrant crisis? Well, allow me to tell you a little bit of a secret as to how population flow works in the United States. And by letting you in on a secret, I mean, here's the common sense that everyone understands. You bring a lot of migrants into a place like Chicago or Indianapolis or another large city. And then these migrants, because of the problems that they bring with them and the messes that people are expected to live around and clean up, those people then move to the suburb cities around, the donut cities of those areas, if you will. And then the standard of living in the donut cities goes down and politics change and things get a little gross. So those people move to the regional cities and towns. And then the people in the regional cities and towns end up moving into the rural areas. And so what you get is this very weird kind of Misesian shift where you have counties in Indiana that are experiencing people flooding into the area and skyrocketing prices and, again, changing the local voting policies and procedures, and not to mention the legislation, all because we have no idea the amount of damage that has been done to the United States through inner-city Democrat policy and pro-migrant open immigration. You have situations in which even the Democrat governors down in places like New Mexico are having to step in and change things because it has become an untenable mess. And it will continue to be an untenable mess whether we actually have the wall up or not at this point, because you have to do something with the people that are in the country. And it turns out that the pregnant women and old men that are supposed to be making up the migrants are actually drug trafficking and sex trafficking victims who we don't have the room to house, to hold, or even to begin to rescue the large number of children that have been trafficked into this country, and 20 to 30-year-old men who should be fixing their own country and are not accompanying wives and mothers and daughters into the country. They are here to do things like beg and to commit insane amounts of crime, like the migrants are doing over in Europe as well. And this brings kind of an interesting problem to the Democrats because they could be focusing on this and saying, well, it's actually the Republicans that aren't doing anything. But the Democrats are too worried about trying to throw Trump off the ballot in Colorado. You have, again, Ted Lieu bragging about how this is a wonderful thing. And actually, if the Supreme Court affirms this, it will open the door for anyone in any state to just toss a president in the Republican Party off of the ballot. And again, I have brought this up time and time again. We'll be talking about this shortly. This brings to mind that classic quote from 2013 when the Democrats started changing precedent to fit immediate political goals. Cocaine Mitch said,
"Say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think."
And this is where we are. Up next, we're going to be talking to a teacher in California who is suing Glendale Unified School District because he had the gall to speak out against transgenderism. And you are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
The National Toy Hall of Fame has announced its new class. Baseball cards, Cabbage Patch Kids, Fisher-Price Corn Popper, that little thing you push, and Nerf.
Yeah. Nerf?
Nerf made it in.
I think I'm good with the list. Literally, I think a stick is in the National Toy Hall of Fame.
It is.
Who didn't make it?
Slime. It's a staple of Nickelodeon.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Terry Stacy here, and shoppers, you're running out of time. But Cynthia's Hallmark's 4 locations have not run out of great gift ideas for last-minute shoppers. Cynthia's has just restocked in time for Christmas. For the kiddos, Melissa and Doug toys are 25% off. 25% off the super popular Squishmallows, too. Life is good, hats and T-shirts, always a beloved gift, and there are plenty to choose from. A customer favorite, Ennis Cologne and Lotions, a clean, unisex fragrance that captures the feeling of a perfect sunny day by the sea. Puzzles, games, and cozy gifts in every price range, and South Bend chocolates made right here in Indiana. The double-dipped chocolate-covered peanuts are so good and fit perfectly in a stocking, which reminds me that Cynthia's has plenty of inexpensive stocking stuffers, including souvenir solar eclipse glasses, just $2.99. And Cynthia's Hallmark gift cards are still one of the best gifts of all. Merry Christmas from family-owned Cynthia's Hallmark, 116th and Allisonville Road, 116th and Brook School Road, 96th and Lantern Road, and in Greenfield.
Here's something for all you guys that haven't gotten your special someone a holiday gift yet. This Christmas, Pajamagram has your back with a deluxe gift set for her. A one-and-done luxurious present. This gift set includes the Smooth Seduction satin nightie and robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. Yeah, you heard that right. A one-and-done luxurious present, all at pajamagram.com.
That's 4 gifts delivered right to your door. Ready to go under the tree, silky, sensuous, glides over the skin, designed to make her feel amazing, and you'll like it too. If you ask me, the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set, that is your ticket to a very nice winter season, if you know what I'm saying. Don't wait. Get it before it sells out. Go to pajamagram.com. Pajamagram.com. That's the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set at Pajamagram. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
The EV deals are all at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. Like that Mach-E, the electric Mustang? Get yours right now. How about 0% APR financing for 48 months or lease for $529 a month? And right now, I'm driving the F-150 Lightning, which is incredible. For a limited time, lease a new F-150 Lightning for $599 a month. Andy Moore Ford, the EV headquarters. You've got questions. They've been doing this for over a decade. They know how to get you the rebates. How about over $7,500 in federal and state incentives? And an all-electric F-150 Lightning has you covered with seating up to 5, intelligent backup power, and on-site power for all your tools and gear. This all-electric truck is built for it all. Talk to Andy Moore Ford about purchasing your electric vehicle, how to take advantage of all their services like More to Your Door. Simply purchase your vehicle online, and they'll deliver it directly to you. Talk to Andy Moore Ford right there on Main Street in Plainfield, or find them online at andymoreford.com. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R, andymoreford.com.
A psoriasis flare-up can make a walk in the park, well, no walk in the park.
It's that obvious, huh? I've tried so many lotions and creams, but I still have symptoms.
So those don't do enough to treat the inflammation beneath the skin, leaving you with those uncontrolled symptoms.
Makes sense, but what else can I do?
You can get real with your dermatologist so they can help you get clear. Make an appointment and, oh, you're already on it.
Hi, yes, I'd like to make an appointment.
Get real clear about psoriasis at letsgetrealclear.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You've been hearing me talk about how I go to 459 Barber Lounge. Tony Katz here, and the holidays are here. Now is the time to look your best and give 459 a try. Look your best for family and friends. Look your best for yourself. Go to the best. 459 has the highly skilled barbers and stylists you want with over 100 years of combined experience. They've been serving Indianapolis for 20 years, open 7 days a week, across from the Fashion Mall on 86th Street. 459online.com. 459online.com.
Discover how to save more of your hard-earned money. Listen to WIBC this Saturday from 5 to 6 a.m. for secure retirement tips from Crown Haven Wealth Advisors. This Saturday, 5 to 6 a.m. on WIBC.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hello and welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC, joined by Ray Shelton. Back in June, he was suspended from his school district because he disagreed with the horrible crime of transgenderism. I know, just the absolute worst. And since then, there have been a few developments on that front. All right, Ray. So the last time we spoke, you were a 5th grade teacher in Glendale, California. You were placed on leave after complaining at a school board meeting that your school, at least your former school, promotes transgenderism. And before we get to the really big stuff and talk about this lawsuit, could you give us kind of take us back in time and tell us what happened initially that brought this whole thing about?
Well, it's good to see you, and thank you for having me. Last year, what the school district began to do is aggressively promote transgender ideology. And a number of parents came to me concerned and wanted to get more information because the school district was gaslighting them. And for example, here's a good example of one of the things that they did. They began to place a set of donated books from a transgender nonprofit into each of the Glendale Elementary School libraries. For example, here's one. This is a book titled They, She, He, and Me. And this is a book that is meant for kindergarten or first grade. And it really is just a list of pronouns associated with various pictures. So it's meant to teach kindergarten children that they can change their gender. And there are various other books to be placed at each grade level. And parents were not informed of this. And this was precisely at the time that they were removing these books from our school libraries. Very quietly, the California...
Oh, you got to watch those Dr. Seuss books are dangerous, you know.
So the district very quietly removed the Dr. Seuss books and placed the pro-transgender ideology books. And I didn't particularly have a problem with that. The real issue was not being transparent with parents, because this is a public institution and should respond to the public. But in any case, parents came to me and asked me to do some research and approach the school board and ask some questions. So I went down to the school board, and I thought I would have 5 minutes to discuss issues, and they only gave me 60 seconds. So I just quickly decided that what I would do is just list some biological facts. So I actually didn't argue against, I didn't make an argument against anything. I just said 2 + 2 is 4. There are 2 genders in human biology. Genders can't be changed. Heterosexuality is the norm. And then a few more other things that I thought.
Hold on a second here. You say heterosexuality is the norm. I've seen a lot of articles portraying you as some kind of evil white Christian nationalist. I don't think though that kind of fits. Could you tell us why perhaps that's not the case?
Well, 2 things. First, I am a gay American. I don't think that's particularly important to myself, but many other people believe that's important. And I'm, as an older gentleman, I'm very familiar with the early gay rights movement, which was just asking for privacy and equal rights. And that was solved and ended quite a long time ago. And homosexuality has nothing to do with transgenderism. There really is just, the alphabet people, the LGBTQ and so on. After the L and the G, everything else is basically just really disturbed people. It has nothing to do with being gay. It's just another leftist tactic to use subgroups to attack people. And heterosexuality is the norm. But
right. At this point, someone on the board muted your microphone, and then a board member informed you that your time was up. Applause broke out from the audience. And then this is just interesting. So a fellow teacher, Alicia Harris, filed a formal complaint against you in April, saying that you were showing off a swastika. And the reason that's important is because there was this big Media Matters article that I saw where it says swastika-toting teacher went on Fox News. And the actual swastika that was on display here was an arrangement of 4 progress flags, pride progress flags, so that the canton of the Black Lives Matter and the transgender part of the progress flag makes a swastika. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that your point here was not to flatter Nazis and promote swastikas, but was to point out kind of the statist, fascist, authoritarian ideology that the progress and pride movement currently embodies.
Yes. What is very interesting about the left is I also had a book titled Maus, M-A-U-S, with me. And this is a anti-Nazi defense of the Hebrew people. And it has a swastika on the cover. So the fact that a book has a swastika or something that looks like a swastika does not mean that you are pro-Nazi. It can easily, and in my case, it did mean that I was anti-Nazi. So the materials that I had with me were to be used in the 5 minutes that I thought I had. However, the left will lie, cheat, and steal to try to destroy their opponents. So my point was that the transgender ideology shares particular beliefs with Nazism. For example, both of them have a false view of human biology. Both are authoritarian, and both seek to crush dissent. But of course, I wasn't allowed to explain that.
Right. So you were told at a certain point that, you're not allowed back on property. They're kind of blocking you and banning you from the building. And eventually you were let go. So the question I have is, from this point, where are you going? I saw an announcement regarding some kind of a lawsuit, so I thought I'd give you that opportunity to kind of break that here.
Well, thank you. Yes, my lawyer, an excellent, has filed a lawsuit on my behalf. And the lawsuit is actually about free speech, the principle of free speech, in which people who speak and are employed by government entities should be free from retaliation. So the school district, I spoke very simple, basic facts, and then was retaliated against immediately by the school district. And so this is really about defending the principle of free speech, not just for myself, actually, but for any parent, any teacher, any administrator, anybody who works for a government entity, speaks out in a public forum, and then is retaliated against.
What do you hope to receive out of this lawsuit? We're talking with Ray Shelton, a California teacher, 25-year veteran teacher, award-winning, who had the gall to speak out against transgender policies at his elementary school. What is it out of this lawsuit that you're really seeking to achieve? Because when it comes to employment-related lawsuits, there's a lot of different things that people ask for. Some just ask for their job back. Some ask for payment and damages. Some ask for a change in policy. What are you after here?
The principle that I hope to accomplish is a legal decision which protects the right of free speech, which I should say strengthens the principle of free speech. That's what I'm looking for, basically. That's the essence of what I'm after. Because once the principle is broken and people can be silenced through fear, then that's the end of our civilization, basically. So this is long-term. This is a long-term project. This is a project that I hope will establish a legal precedent. There are some minor precedents in other places. What's different here is that generally you cannot bring a lawsuit against these sorts of entities unless you are an employee. And I was an employee. So most public teachers, public school teachers, or other government employees are not going to sue their employees for financial reasons. But I've lived long enough to see the slow descent of our culture and of civilization itself that we are at a true crisis point. We really are. We really are at a true crisis point. So that's my goal.
Ray Shelton, 25-year veteran, award-winning teacher of California, filing a lawsuit against Glendale Unified School District for a whole mess of shenanigans because, again, he had the gall to call.
Pre-owned Rolex watches you can't find anywhere else. Need more inspiration? Check out our online gift guide and even chat with a virtual assistant at diamondsdirect.com. Ask about flexible financing options as well. Connect with Diamonds Direct and let us help you choose that perfect headliner gift at the absolute best value price. Get all the details, special showroom hours, and lots of ideas now at diamondsdirect.com. Keystone at the Crossing, the official jeweler of the Indianapolis Colts, and proud to call Indy home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
Just $79.95. Call us now at 317-288-0634. That's 317-288-0634, or visit AbsoluteWealthManagementLLC.com. Investment advisory services offered through Gradient Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Gradient Advisors LLC and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting advice.
Make it a holiday to remember.
Now Halliburton will go to work, center of the floor, set, shot, three, and he does it again.
Get revved up with the high-flying, fast-paced action of an Indiana Pacers game.
They lob it up, and what a dunk by Toppin!
It's a Saturday night showdown when your Pacers host the Orlando Magic. Get revved up Saturday at 7. Buy your tickets at Pacers.com. That's Pacers.com. Pacers Magic. Saturday at 7.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org. Possibilities are all around us. Everywhere we look, we see opportunity in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world that we call home. Like transforming an old bus to feed hungry children, or providing life-saving equipment to those who need it most. From fighting disease to rebuilding schools, together we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved today at rotary.org/action.
Boost Infinite's new wireless technology gives you 3 networks for the price of 1 and better service at a lower price. Visit boostinfinite.com. That's boostinfinite.com.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Good evening and welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. I will admit, occasionally, just every once in a while, like once in a blue moon, whenever, blue moons happen, I'm kind of petty. It's true, I know. And if you don't know, I once wasted $20,000 with Ball State University on 2 master's degrees, one in education technology, one in curriculum development. And I worked pretty hard on my theses. That would be the plural of thesis. I wasn't throwing poop at my academic advisors. And I worked pretty hard because the plagiarism standards were so high. And, I followed a lot of different rules, and I played really nice, and I did all of these different things that I thought I was supposed to do, et cetera, ad nauseum. And got my degrees, and my pay marginally went up in a public school. But I have really enjoyed watching as colleges and universities around the country have decided in the last couple of years that there would be kind of a 2-tier caste organization for how the rules are enforced. So two kinds of rules here. First of all, there are the academic rules for how students get into a university, how they stay in said university, and then whether or not they can do things like keep their degree after they finish their time at the university. I kind of interesting little fun facts here. Like 99% of all universities can take your degree back if you do something that is especially egregious. One of those things is plagiarism. That's using someone else's material without their knowledge, claiming that it's your own, or basically misapplying the methods of citation. There's a lot of different ways that it's done. There's a lot of ways that any individual with a very basic college education is kind of taught to avoid. And I mean like the nitty-gritty plagiarism stuff. Like the average freshman in college knows how to avoid very basic plagiarism. Well, Claudine Gay of Harvard, after she went and said a bunch of stupid anti-Semitic stuff in Congress, it turns out that she's plagiarized a whole lot of stuff. And now even Jake Tapper and CNN are confirming what Chris Rufo's original report was, which is that, Claudine Gay is a big fraud and has plagiarized a bunch of her work. And it's turning out that a lot of college professionals around the country who champion diversity, equity, and inclusion, and who get up in front of people and say, quote, "My greatest accomplishment is being black and being a woman," end quote, as though having a vagina and a certain amount of melanin in your skin makes you anything special, just as no one really cares about my genitals or skin color whenever I do anything. At least I sure hope they don't. You see a kind of interesting situation developing in that now the House of Representatives and the Education Committee, that would be the Education and the Workforce Committee in fullness, is now telling Harvard that they need to start coughing up information regarding the plagiarism because Harvard receives federal funding. So this is why this is so delicious and delightful and hilarious. All of these colleges and institutions over the last couple of decades have set up these very fancy discrimination policies and these very fancy academic policies that are meant to cater to very specific political groups and made to make colleges sound like they're these wonderful elite institutions of knowledge and wisdom. And the idea was that they would kind of gatekeep everyone out and that only certain groups would be given a voice or be given kind of social capital to make decisions. This manifested in two ways. Number one, it manifested in diversity hires. You have a lot of people who have no business being in a university administration position who have university admin jobs. And shocker, they do their job poorly. For example, Azure Swinford from Butler University does her job exceedingly poorly. In a case with Butler University College Republicans, she launched an investigation into them and via the emails that we received, decided they were guilty before she even began an investigation. So she's a fraud. She never should have had that job in the first place. And you say, well, how do you know that? Well, she used to work at IPS where she was a really bad at her job, Title IX coordinator over there. And that brings up the second kind of problem universities have dug for themselves. That would be title coordination and non-discrimination policy. So universities everywhere that took federal funding decided that they would link non-discrimination policies and a lot of their academic policies, aka if you're going to be a student, here are things that you can and cannot do, with federal non-discrimination policy. Title VI, which would be the civil rights policies saying that you can't discriminate using federal dollars based on race. So my tax dollars can't pay for you to be a racist. Title IX is the same thing but for gender. So I cannot pay for you to be a sexist. That's kind of the idea. Well, all of these universities, including places like Harvard and Butler, though they be private universities in name, indeed, they take a lot of federal dollars. And they take federal dollars in Pell Grants. They take federal dollars in funding of their title programs, which universities like Butler funnel into their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And here's the best part. Oh, I forgot one. Like the IU Kinsey Sex Institute and all of the really creepy crap that they did over there for decades and decades. Well, now that Democrats had kind of wielded the bat for a long time and went after like Christian colleges for not wanting to teach LGBTQ things and going after private universities that took the Pell Grant and had title offices for not wanting to teach DEI, now Republicans have kind of caught on. And yes, this is indeed another case of backfire. And now you have House Republicans and also state legislatures around the country that are starting to bring the state and federal funding of certain universities into question. Because it turns out that when universities hold arbitrary standards and do not apply them to anyone and everyone equally, like let's say you're a university that's letting in black students and Hispanic students, but not white students, Jewish students, and Asian students, like the Ivy League schools. Or let's say that you're at university in Indianapolis and you're investigating some groups while not investigating other groups and not abiding by the non-discrimination policy that you set in your own student manuals. It seems there might be consequences for that, because the great sanctity that universities used to have, that you didn't touch them, the great sanctity that you left the universities alone and they did what they were supposed to do, and the federal funding was more of an investment in goodwill, yeah, that's gone. And it's gone because Democrats spent the last decade prosecuting Christian universities and other private entities for the great crime of holding things like traditionally Christian values. And they said, well, you can't, teaching Christian values in a Christian college, that's discriminatory and exclusionary. So you need to have a Title IX office and a Title VI office. You need to have all these coordinators and all of this diversity, equity, and inclusion like the U.S. Department of Education has been pushing. Well, it turns out that the Pied Piper is coming home to roost, and those spilled chickens cannot be counted before they're hatched. For other mixed metaphors, of course, you can stick around for the show. The point is, when you make stupid decisions, you get stupid consequences. And when Democrats decided they were going to go nuclear in about 2013, and they decided that in Obama's second term, now was the time to just pull out all the stops, all of the precedent, and prosecute Republicans, they were counting on Republicans always being the nice shucksy doodle local city councilman Republican. And that's not really what a lot of Republicans are anymore. And so there will be some more information that I will enjoy sharing with you tomorrow here on the live stream and also throughout other networks in which there are perhaps additional problems. Because when the House holds a majority on the Education Committee, it can bring people in to check as to whether they're actually upholding the law or not. And if you're not upholding the law, you can say goodbye to all of that federal funding. And boy, if there is one thing that colleges drink up, it is federal funding. Up next, we're going to be talking a little bit about Christmas cover albums. It is the season, and yes, some Christmas cover albums are better than others. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, sir.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream. You sound like my grandpa. Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through December 21st, new customers can get 75 megabit internet on the next generation Xfinity 10G network for just $20 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply.